Hello, friends, and welcome to what I hope is going to be an interesting discussion, conversation, and of course, a tarot reading. So, today is Youth Day here in South Africa, and Youth Day commemorates the bravery and the resilience of young people who stood up against oppression during the Soweto uprising back in the late 1970s. This is a day that honors their courage, it honors their bravery, and acts as a reminder of the power and the potential that the youth have to drive meaningful change in our country and in the rest of the world. I thought about doing this video for a couple of reasons. Yes, it is Youth Day, and yes, this is my way of acknowledging what happened in the past, but actually it's not so much about what happened in the past, it's what's happening in the present that is leading us into an interesting future. So as somebody who talks to people of all walks of life from all around the world every single day, except on the weekends, of course, one of the things that has come up so often and is how different the youth today are from what the youth was back in the past. And it doesn't matter whether you are a person in your 70s, a person in your 40s, or a person in your 20s. Everybody is noticing the difference. I'm hearing more and more and more from moms, from parents who are saying, my child is like this. I wasn't like that. And to me, I find it fascinating. So I have two children of my own. I have a millennial and I have a Gen Z. So that in itself says a lot. It's the reason why I have to color my hair. No, I'm joking. My children are amazing. But it's interesting to see the differences between them. It's interesting to see the differences in the rest of, the children of this world. And I've noticed a lot of people are struggling with this. A lot of people are, nervous and anxious, like, what is this world going to be like with the children the way that they are today? So today I want to talk about this. I want to bring this forward. I want to talk about the youth, not the youth of the past. I want to talk about the youth of today and the youth of tomorrow, because as much as it may be difficult for a lot of people to understand them, to comprehend them, to me, there's a lot of benefit in them being who they are and changing the way that they are, changing the way this world operates. So to me, if we look at Youth Day in South Africa, Youth Day in South Africa was really and truly what happened back in the late 1970s. I forget the exact year that it happened, but what happened back in the late 1970s was absolutely pivotal. It was such an important moment in history, and suddenly everything changed because of that event. I'm not going to go into the details of that event because it doesn't matter. It's not what this is about. But we need to realize that the children that are coming into the world today, now, our children, the children that are yet to be born and those that have already been born, they are different, they think different, they're wired differently. And that's what I really want us to focus on this Youth Day. So let's just, I know a lot of you probably do already understand the different generations, but I'm just going to summarize it for you very, very briefly for those who maybe don't know. So I'm not going to go into those that aren't considered youths anymore, but I am going to start with the millennials. So the millennials were born in 1981 to 1996. Now the reason why I'm starting there, because those are who were born in 1996, we certainly can't call them youth anymore, but they are actually, because to me they're only now starting to grow up. They're only now starting to actually realize the significance of who they are and what they can do in this world. To me, the millennials were grown. The millennials were raised during a period of much transition between analog to digital, as an example. We all understand that analogy. They're very adaptable, and they're also really resilient, the millennials, okay? And they almost, if I can say, initiated the changes that we are experiencing right now. I can remember when my daughter, who is a millennial, when she was born, at the schools, this is when ADD and ADHD became rife, and suddenly everybody was diagnosed and everybody was afraid and scared and apprehensive and nervous. Whereas today, it's like, if your child isn't one of those things, it's like, well, what's wrong with your child? So there was a lot of fear from the parents that came through with that particular generation. But those children are incredibly adaptable and resilient. They just sort of figured it out and worked it out as they went. To me, the millennial generation, and I'm not just talking about my own child who is a millennial, I'm talking about the discussions and conversations that I've had with people, what I've seen for myself, and what I've learned over the years. So millennials, to me, they bridged the gap between the older generation and the generation that's come after them. So it's almost like they've assisted us to shift from the one mindset into the other, especially when it comes to things like technology. They are incredibly resilient problem solvers. They are, if we can call them, the champions of social and environmental causes, because suddenly they made us, older generation, look at things differently, think of things differently, and process things quite differently. So then from 1997 through to, I think it's 2012, we have the Generation Z. And again, I have a child in this category, in this generation. So, and it's, like I said, it's been so interesting to actually see the differences. So the Gen Zs, they're the true digital natives. So they were immersed in technology from birth. Nothing was strange or new to them. It's like this was just natural. It was second nature for them. They're incredibly pragmatic, and they're also very future-driven, future-oriented. They value authenticity as well as activism. They're not afraid to speak their minds. They're not afraid to express themselves. In fact, they want to express, they want to say, they want to put it out there. But they're not just focused on themselves. There's quite a global consciousness that comes through with the Gen Z generation. And also they're the ones that started bringing to light, bringing to conversation diversity. Okay, we didn't hear it so much with the millennials, but with the Gen Z generation, this whole thing of diversity started coming through. So each generation has been layering on the previous ones, bringing us to where we're going. Okay, we're getting there. So the Gen Z, to me, they were incredibly inclusive. They were also they are incredibly fearless, and they are such strong advocates for social equality and for also climate. They were the ones who actually started saying, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? They started voicing and saying the things that us older generations were too afraid to speak about, to put out there. The Gen Zs are also experts at navigating and discerning vast amounts of information. Maybe not schoolwork, but everything else. You know, I look at my son, who is a Gen Z, and I don't think he has that much exposure to the world, but the things that he knows, the things that he understands, and I've somehow missed these things completely. And I think, like, where did you get this from? But they have this natural ability to just suck in all this information and to process it and to understand it and to categorize it and to figure it all out. Whereas the older generation tend to be a little bit more like, oh, I need to unpack and I need to understand and I need to box and I need to whatever, suppress, ignore, etc. Whereas the Gen Zs are like, no, boom, it's all there. Then the latest generation, the newest generation, if I can call it that, is the Generation Alpha. So they were born from about 2013 onwards. They're still being born, okay? 2013 till current day is the Generation Alpha. At least I don't think there's a new one since then. So even though they are so young and so small, so little, so tiny, so we have to understand that they are so much more advanced than the rest of us. They were born surrounded by AI. They were born surrounded by smart devices, not just cell phones and the internet, smart devices, and incredibly advanced technology. Incredibly advanced technology. Their characters, their personas, their understanding of life has been shaped by incredibly significant global events like the pandemic. They were born during this time of pandemic and climate crisis. So, and also because of the access to information and how quickly and easily they grasp information, they are also expected to be the most educated generation. Maybe not through typical traditional school models, but certainly through gaining just, I'm going to call it, worldly information and understanding, because they have so much digital information available to them at all the times. They are being constantly bombarded with information, knowledge, and understanding. So to me, the Generation Alpha are going to be huge innovators in technology and incredibly creative problem solvers because they see things differently, they perceive things differently, they understand things differently. They also have incredibly strong emotional intelligence as well as understanding the global responsibilities. So one of the things that we need to see, if we can put it into a timeline, if I can say, Millennials were embracing, Gen Z were immersed, and Gen Alpha are seamless. So you can see that kind of progression from the one generation to the next of where we're going. And to me, I get excited when I think about, well, what comes next? Who comes next? And what change are they going to bring to our current reality? We can see a shift in our value systems as well, because we've gone from a point of individual success, which was the older generations, we were more focused on I, to the new generation of children who are focused on collective well-being and global sustainability. So the shift has definitely gone from personal, me, to we. And I think that is just so phenomenal. Obviously, each generation does have its own unique experiences and challenges and things like that. But if we look at, again, the children that are being born today and their characteristics and how are they made up and how they think and how they're put together, if I can say, it's not a scary thing. It's actually an incredibly exciting thing. But what we need to do as the adults, as the grown-ups, as the older generation, is we've got to learn how to stand back and allow. You know, we have to guide, because it's our role as the ancestors, it's our role as the adults, is to guide this younger generation, but we mustn't limit them. We mustn't restrict them. We mustn't try and hold them back. Now, one of the things that has really been so big in conversations that I've had with clients, in conversations I've had with my own children, and conversations I've had with friends and, you know, just everybody, even you can go onto all the socials. Something that comes up quite a lot is this whole rise of neurodivergence. Everybody is suddenly neurodivergent in one way, shape, form, or another. But the truth of the matter is, neurodivergence has always been a thing. It's always been out there. You know, I look in my own family as an example, and I have children who have been diagnosed as being neurodivergent, like official medical diagnosis. But then I look at why they've been given that diagnosis, and I recognize those traits within myself. So does that mean I fall into that bracket? Yes, I do. But when I was raised, it wasn't topic of conversation. It wasn't something that was easily discussed. It was very much about, shush, keep it quiet, put it in a cupboard, leave it alone. Then I look at my parents and I see those same qualities there, you know? So this whole neurodivergence and people being sensitive to sounds and tastes and textures and everything else, it's been around forever. But we've just never given ourselves permission to acknowledge it. Whereas today, the children today are vocal, they're expressive, they want to be seen, they want to be understood, they want to be heard, and these things are coming up. So these days, we do have better facilities for diagnosis of conditions such as ADD, ADHD, autism, etc. Previously, these diagnoses have always gone undiagnosed because it was always seen as a bad thing, and bad things are ignored and not discussed and not brought to the front. So these days, things have shifted. We also have, because of things that have changed in prenatal health, environmental toxins and stress levels that we've all been under, has also influenced neurodivergence coming through to the fore a lot stronger. So one thing we have to understand is that neurodivergence is part of human diversity. We've all got it. It's been in our lives all along. We've just not been as aware of it as we are today. I do have to say to you, though, I don't see this as a weakness. I see it very much as a strength. You know, the fact that we're conscious, the fact that we're saying, I don't like that sound. I don't like that texture. I don't like that, whatever it might be. I don't like people. The fact that we're able to express ourselves can only be a positive, because what it means is that we're acknowledging who we are, what we are, and what we're all about. And we're saying, I want to work in a different world. I want to work in a different environment. I want to operate in a different life. And things have to change to adapt to fit the human beings. And to me, that is a win-win all around. So when we talk about diversity, and I really and truly do believe that diversity is a strength, but we need to see it that way. We need to acknowledge it that way. We need to promote it that way. So traits like, people who generally suffer, no, let me not say that. People who are divergent or have diversity, who think differently, who feel differently, who behave differently, they generally tend to be super creative. And again, how is that a negative? It's not. It's a positive. We need to encourage it. We need to acknowledge it. We need to promote it. So diversity brings out creativity. It brings out hyper focus. Okay? Hyper focus. Again, not a bad thing. Empathy is another thing that comes through with the diversity. And all of these traits, if I can call them that, they offer unique contributions to society as a whole. Neurodivergent individuals often excel in innovation, in problem solving, in specific areas of whatever their interests are. And again, we need that because over the last couple of years, we seem to have lost those talent, skills, and abilities. And now it's coming to the fore in a lot of people, which is fantastic. We need to understand that many people, we're all becoming more attuned, if I can say, to our environments. And we tend to be mirroring a collective shift towards emotional intelligence and empathy, instead of just saying, well, I'm focusing on me, myself, and I, and I'm only doing what's right for me, and I don't care about anybody else. That mindset is gone. And so be it. Let it go, because it actually doesn't serve us. It doesn't help us. And we need to start breaking conformity. And this is what the neurodivergent energies are bringing through for us. So this whole neurodivergence diversity is challenging traditional systems. It's making traditional systems fall apart so that we can learn how to foster inclusion, individuality, as well as, and the part that really excites me, is the new ways of thinking. So, first of all, how do we, you and I, support the evolution of humanity that is taking place at the moment? Because there is a major evolution that is taking place. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to recognize that our systems, our methods, our processes need to change. So we start off with education. And this is something that I have been really, it's affected me in a big way. Let me put it that way. So again, having a millennial and a Gen Z. My millennial managed to get through traditional schooling as best as she absolutely could. She ended up doing really well, but it wasn't easy. It was a really tough battle. Come along my Gen Z, and by his second year of traditional schooling, I could see that this kid was just not coping. He was uncomfortable. He was emotionally disconnected. He was battling. It was not easy for him. So I made the decision to find alternate schooling systems for him. He has since matriculated and completed further education. He has done incredibly well for himself, but there are still limits as to what he can do. He does not handle big groups of people. He doesn't handle loud noises. He doesn't handle chaos. He likes processes and systems and these type of things. But as a parent, I could see, and as a, if I can say, a spiritual parent, I could see the soul diminishing, trying to make him fit a box that didn't fit him. So I immediately recognized and found an alternate. Not everybody has had the luck, the joy, the opportunity to do that. And, today, again, in my consults with parents who have neurodivergent children, who have children who are part of this new evolution of humankind. And they're struggling because they're trying to put their kids into school systems that haven't changed in 70 years. And the kids are not coping. So this is one of the things that needs to happen and I know that there are more and more alternate schooling systems available today in all countries, not just in South Africa, but we need more, because even those that we have at the moment aren't good enough for the children that are needing to go through the school systems. So we need to create, to make individualized learning plans for our children that emphasize their strengths over their deficits. Because again, school systems have always been about the negative and about what you don't have and what you don't know, and as opposed to who you are and what you do have and who you really are. So these are the changes that need to take place. We also need to shift it from being textbook based to being, more hands-on, more practical, more creative. And then as far as community goes, we need our community to embrace neurodiversity in our schools, in our workplaces, and in our society. It mustn't be the secret that's stuck in a cupboard and forgotten about. No, we need to actually ask each person, what is your thing? You know, what makes you tick? What makes you excited? What makes you hungry and passionate and all the rest of it? And not just, oh, you need to wear blue because everybody wears blue. No, we're not in that world anymore. We need to reduce the stigma by educating everybody, by celebrating diversity and diverse ways of thinking. You know, we mustn't look at it, oh, my child has a problem. No, my child has a strength. My child is amazing. My child isn't the same as yours, and that's fantastic. And that is fantastic. We also need to start using assistive tools to enhance focus and communication. We need to start realizing that our youth of today are different. They think different. They wire differently. They need different. So we can't try and make them do what we did. It's not possible. We also need to start supporting careers that are aligned with individual strengths. So when we say to an 8-year-old child, what do you want to be when you grow up? The 8-year-old child has no idea. When you were 8, you probably said, oh, I want to be a policeman or a nurse or a doctor or a whatever. You know, there were these kind of standard job titles. It doesn't exist like that for this new generation, for our youth of today. And we, as the grown-ups, as the adults, we need to start seeing that. We need to start recognizing that. And we need to start allowing these changes to come through in our conversations. It's time for us to adapt. It's time for us to start making the changes that are necessary. So we need to also promote mindfulness and emotional regulation. We need to make it a norm that mindfulness and emotional regulation happens in every day, in every household, for every person. And it mustn't be just, oh, that person goes for therapy, like, oh, you know. No, it needs to be, wow, that person goes for therapy. We need to normalize it. We need to make it okay. We need to make it normal. And we need to provide resources and support for the families who are struggling with the update, struggling with the evolution, struggling with the normal. We need to make sure that we are all advocating for inclusive systems that value neurodivergent people, situations, and communities. We need to start shifting our metrics of success to include creativity, collaboration, as well as all things related to emotional intelligence. So, friends, what I want to do now is I have created us a little tarot spread around this discussion. So obviously what I've given to you so far is, I'm going to call it standard information that is readily available. Everybody knows all the generations and what they each stand for. And, you know, I've basically just given you facts and a little bit about my opinion on the matter and my own personal experiences. So what I've done now is I've created, as I said, a tarot spread. This particular tarot spread, I am using the Next World Tarot, which is a mini deck, as you can see by the size of the box. The reason why I'm using it, because it says Next World Tarot. The images are very modern, are very present day, if I can put it that way. Sometimes the images can be a little bit jarring, but then it's present day. So it is a very divergent deck. So this is why I've chosen to use it. And also because the spread is quite a big spread and I needed to be able to fit all the cards on camera. So let's switch the camera up. There we go. Camera has been switched, and here I have my cards on the table here in front of me. So I'm going to take us through this particular spread, and it's going to be quite interesting to see what comes through and how it differs from what we already know and what we already understand around the youth of today. So I want to just put my spread that I can see it. So this particular spread is, first of all, we're going to look at the present. And now when I talk about youth, let me elaborate on that for a second. When I talk about youth, I'm referring to, I'm going to say to anybody and everybody who is young. So it's not specifically a particular generation. It's not specifically a particular age group. I am referring to anybody who considers themselves young. So like me, I mean, I am certainly not any of these generations that I'm talking about, but I like to think that I am young in my outlook in my understanding and in my perception of the world. Young as in curious and interesting and wanting to embrace change and the evolution that is taking place in this world. So this spread, I'm calling it the evolution of youth. And when I say youth, I'm referring to the new people, the new energies, the new mindsets, the new ways of thinking, the new ways of being in this world right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out all the cards, because and then just so that the shuffling is out of the way, the cards have been placed, and then I will take you through each of the card positions and what they mean. So let's get the cards positioned on the table. I'll do one more shuffle. I need 7 cards for this particular tarot spread. Okay, gosh, I'm just looking at the time. I didn't realize this was going to be such a long video. Actually, let me put them straight up. So 7 of Cups is the first one. Then we have the 9 of Wands, the 2 of Swords, 2 of Pentacles, 4 of Cups, we have Temperance, and the 7 of Pentacles. So what is so interesting, what jumps out at me right off the bat, is the fact that we only have one major arcana card and we don't have any court cards. The rest are all what we refer to as minor arcana. Now, when we talk about minor arcana in tarot, we talk about the details of life. And that's exactly what this tarot spread is all about. This tarot spread is all about the details of life. And as I said to you, I'm calling this the evolution of youth tarot spread. So the evolution of youth tarot spread, card number 1. So here we have card number 1 is the 7 of Cups. And the 7 of Cups is the present energy of the youth. So this is like, who are they? What is the collective mindset of modern day youth? What is the emotional resilience of modern day youth? Who are they and what makes them so unique and what makes them so special? And if we look at this 7 of Cups, first of all, you can see here by my thumb at the bottom, the key word is imagination. And look at her. I mean, doesn't she just epitomize modern day youth? She doesn't care what anybody thinks of her. She's doing what she feels comfortable with. She is just being her true self. She's not trying to fit in. She's not trying to adapt. She's not trying to conform. So the present energy of youth is exactly that. She's got her cupboard behind her, and in her cupboard behind her, there's a huge diamond over there, there's a fishy over there, but she has everything in her cupboard that she needs, and she wants to use it all. She wants to have it all. She wants to experience it all. She wants to be it all. She's not trying to fit into a box. You know, my generation would look at this and say, pretty dress, pretty shoes, but they don't go together. The colors don't go, the styles don't go. You don't wear tackies with an evening dress. But this generation goes, why not? Why not? So the present energy of youth is to say, I am comfortable with who I am, with what I am, and I'm not going to hold back, and I'm not going to resist, and I'm not going to try and conform. I'm going to use my imagination wildly, proudly, creatively, and I'm going to be the best version of myself. And even if my colors clash, so what? So what? And this is the collective mindset. They're okay to be different. And again, the older generations, they don't like that. We've been programmed and conditioned to follow the rules and to be the same and to, you know, we wear the same uniform and we're comfortable when we're the same as everybody else. When we're different to anybody else, we feel out of place. Current youth, present energy of the youth, they're okay to be so radically different, and we need to embrace that. Okay. Next card we have is the 9 of Wands. So what makes this generation so wonderfully unique? What makes them so fabulous? Look at her. Look at all these guitars that she has. I mean, from fabulous ukuleles to acoustic to the electric guitars to everything in between. What makes this generation, and the key word down the bottom here, resilient. Haven't I said that so often? In this particular conversation, haven't I said the word resilient so often, starting with the millennials all the way up? I've said resilient, 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 resilient. They truly are. So what makes this generation, our youth of today, what makes them so unique is the fact that they are so resilient, the fact that they are so creative, the fact that if they don't get something right, they keep trying. They'll try different things in different ways. They'll even break all the rules to try things in a different way. Whereas again, older generation, if you tried to play guitar and you didn't get it right, you gave it up and you moved on to, I don't know, mechanics. Whereas here, she's like, no, 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 I'm going to try every single one of these guitars because you know what? Eventually, I'm going to master it. Eventually, I'm going to get it. So what makes this current generation, our youth of today, what makes them so unique is the fact that they are so creative, the fact that they are so adaptable, and the fact they are so willing to challenge the norm. She's not going to play the guitar in the way that the textbooks say. She's going to play it with whatever feels right to her heart and soul. She's going to play it her own way, and you know what? It's going to be fantastic. So they are all about changing the outdated norms and changing the outdated expectations and processes and methods and all the rest of it. Why? Because they can. And because it makes them feel good. And that's what matters, is how they feel, not the end product of what they're creating. She might be absolutely useless at playing the guitar, but as far as she's concerned, the sounds that she's making feel and sound good to her. And we need to embrace that. We need to accept that. We don't have to put her on the radio, but we need to give her the space to play the music that she wants to play in whatever way she wants to play them. All right, here we have card number 3. Card number 3 is the hidden strengths of our youth of today. The hidden strengths of our youth today, we're looking at the untapped potential. We're looking at their ability to innovate or the ability to unite. We need to talk about, look at the keyword down the bottom here, protection. Now, here we have this lady. She's sitting on this little toadstool. Yes, she's on the edge of the water. We can see that we've got town behind her. Look at all the power lines and that type of thing. But she's completely oblivious. She's blindfolded. She's got her little sticks in her hand, so she feels like she can protect herself if she needs to be. But if you look at this little toadstool that she's sitting on, can you actually notice what it is? Can you notice what it is? Do I need to bring it a bit closer? This might give you a little clue here. Look at that there. She's sitting on a toilet, people. She's sitting on a toilet out in the middle of nowhere. But the rest of us, us older generation, be like, oh my gosh, she's sitting on a toilet. For her, it's like, well, I can sit on it. And if I can sit on it, I'm going to sit on it. I don't care that it's out in the open. I'm not using it as a toilet. I'm using it as a seat. It has a purpose. It can hold my weight. It can support my body. Therefore, I'm using it as a toilet. She doesn't realize, and she doesn't care what other people think. To her, she needs to sit. She wants to take her feet off the ground. She wants to be comfortable. And she's comfortable. The fact that she's sitting on something that used to be used as a toilet doesn't make her feel yucky in any way. Two of Swords is the card of not seeing what is right there. But in this particular case, it's also that we don't care. Protection. She is protecting herself. She's looking after herself. She is minding her own business. The fact that she's blindfolded, she is choosing what matters and what doesn't matter to her. So the hidden strengths of this modern youth that we have today is that they don't care about the things that we cared about. They don't care what is right or wrong based on old traditions, old systems, old methods. They're like, this is what I want to do, and therefore I'm doing it. It doesn't matter if it makes you feel icky. It doesn't matter because it doesn't make me feel icky, and that's the only thing that matters. But at the same time, she's not harming anybody. She's not causing any disaster or doing anything wrong. She is comfortable enough to break the molds of what we've decided need to be in a particular way. So let's have a look at card number 4. Card number 4 are the challenges that our youth face at the moment. Intersection is the key word down here by my thumb. We have the Two of Pentacles. Now, the Two of Pentacles is what I like to refer to as the card of balance, the card of yin and yang, the card of understanding how much is enough and how much is too much. It's the card of understanding that there's so much going on and we need to make sure that we're focusing on the things that are important, relevant, and significant. Now, if we look at the artwork on this card, here we have two people. We have a gift being offered. We have something, but she's also arrived. So he's arrived with a bouquet. And she's arrived with a bouquet. So it's like, I want to give you, you want to give me. Where is the yin yang balance? Well, why don't we just exchange? Why don't we just exchange? Now, this is the challenges that our youth are facing at the moment. This is societal pressures. This is mental health struggles. And this is environmental crisis. Because why? Everybody wants to make everything better. Everybody wants to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. So what happens is like, who acknowledges who first here? Where is the balance? Where is the balance? Now, because this particular generation, because they are if I can call it the first, okay? Our youth of today, whatever they're going through, whatever they're experiencing, nobody else has ever experienced it before. Nobody. They're doing it for the first time. So we don't have track record. We don't have history. We don't have, oh, well, it used to be like this and then that's how you do it. And we don't have. Now, we're uncharted territory. We're walking a new path. So we must stop applying old rules to this new path because that doesn't work. We need to recognize that our current youth, the thing that they're struggling most with is that they all want to do everything. And they want to be seen, heard, and acknowledged, but everybody wants to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. So we get to this point of like, who goes first? Well, everybody goes first. Everybody goes first. So the challenges that they face is how to understand who comes first and who goes next and the order that things take place in. But it's still about trying to find that balance of conforming, fitting in, adapting, and yet still being creative, free, and adaptable in the world that they want to and they need to. Right. So now let's look at card number 5, and this is the 4 of Cups with a keyword of reevaluate. How will our youth of today transform the world? How will they do it? Well, look at this lady. She's sitting, there's all sorts of stuff around her. She's got bottles floating in the water. I don't know whether that is considered debris, dirt, or whatever it is, but there she sits in her slippers, in a nightgown, feeling absolutely fantastic. And what is she doing? She's painting her nails. Why? Because that's what she wants to do at the time. So how is the youth of today, how are they going to transform this world of ours? They're going to transform it one fingernail at a time. In all seriousness, the 4 of Cups is the card of, I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I'm interested. I don't know if it's my thing. It's that feeling of, I don't know. I don't know. So how are they going to transform the world? Because, again, older generations had this feeling of you must, you will, you have to. This modern youth, they're like, I don't have to. If I don't want to, I won't. So sometimes the lack of energy, the lack of progress, the lack of activity, the lack of desire and enthusiasm is exactly what is needed to shift perspectives, to bring about change in the world where it is needed. So how will they transform the world? They're going to transform the world by only doing the things that they want to at the time that they want to. Again, older generation, everything was by the clock, by the watch, like it's time. Start work at 8 o'clock. You're only allowed to have a tea break at 10 o'clock and then only 15 minutes. Then you work until 12. You're allowed a half an hour lunch and 12:30 you must be back. Not 1 second past. You need to be back. And then at 2 o'clock you can have another 15-minute break and only at 4:30 on the dot can you leave. Everything was so structured. You had no power. You had no say. Whereas again, this youth of today are changing everything. They do things in their own time. They do things in their own time. Why? Because we're working on a global world now. We have different time zones. So we can't run our whole country on 8 to 5 like it used to be, because we have to factor in other countries, other people in different places and all these kind of things. So how are they going to transform the world? By realizing that everybody can stick to their own time zones. Everybody can stick to their, like some people, again, I look at my son, the Gen Z, he doesn't operate before 12 o'clock in the day. He just doesn't. He is, I don't want to say he's useless, but he performs, operates, thinks, works better from lunchtime until midnight. I can't. My generation doesn't understand that, isn't wired that way, but he is. So he needs an environment that suits him, that fits him, that feeds his soul. And this is why we have the 4 of Cups here, as in how they're going to transform the world. They're going to transform the world when they feel like it, how they feel like it, in the way that they feel like it. So, I love this. I love this, if I can even pick it up. So here we have Temperance, card number 6. Temperance is the lessons that our youth of today are bringing to us older generations. Keyword, there is no keyword here, right? This is a fire sign in Sagittarius and it is Jupiter as well, because it's a major arcana. But Temperance is the card of moderation. Temperance is the card of balance. Temperance is the card of saying don't do too much, because too much is too much. Too little is also too little. It's about finding that happy equilibrium. So if we look at this angel, covered in tattoos and all sorts of fabulousness. Look at all the bottles of muti and stuff that they have in the background. And it's about understanding that you need just the right quantities of everything in order to have the blend that brings you the rainbow and the magic that you're looking for. So, what lessons are our current youth bringing to us older generations? So, they're going to teach us that it's okay to break the rules, that it's okay to do things a little bit differently, that it's okay to need, want, and feel, to expect, to imagine, to perceive, to do things differently, that we don't always have to replicate everything up to perfection, that sometimes you can add an extra sprinkle of happiness, an extra dollop of joy, an extra dose of fabulosity, into something, and suddenly you can enjoy your job, you can enjoy your relationship, you can have fun again. Because I honestly think, I look at my generation and the generation after me, there wasn't a lot of fun to be had. It's like when you're at work, put your happiness aside, put your humor aside, put your whatever aside, and focus and be the robot. Whereas this new generation is saying, no, you can work, you can love what you do, you should love what you do, and you should be able to have fun doing it. And because you're having fun doesn't mean that you're being less productive. No. So this is what our current youth of today are here to teach us, that you're allowed to have fun, to enjoy life. You don't always have to be a robot, and only on a Sunday afternoon between 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon can you actually let your hair down and have some fun. You can have fun anytime. And finally, friends, the legacy that our current youth are going to leave us. Look at this keyword, vision. Can you see this here? Vision. This is the Seven of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles is the card of perseverance. It's the card of patience. It's the card of longevity. So the legacy that our current youth are leaving us is that, one day future generations are going to look back at our current Gen Alphas and say, thank you, Gen Alphas. Thank you for breaking the mold, for breaking the rules. Thank you for putting the old people in line and telling the old people it's okay to be different. It's okay to be fabulous. It's okay to not have to always color in the lines. It's okay to break the mold and to do things differently. But it's going to take some time. So the current generation that we have, our youth of today, they haven't finished the evolution, the change that's coming. We still have a little bit more to go. But the message that I want to bring to all of us who are engaging with the youth, who are interacting with the youth, who are looking at the youth going, what's going on? We need to trust, we need to allow, we need to accept, we need to evolve. So we need to understand that the world that we're living in today is different from the world that we lived in before. We need to recognize that neurodivergence is here to stay, that the children, the youth of our land right now in 2025, they're completely different, and this is fantastic, and this is wonderful, and we want this. We want them to be different. We want them to be who they are, but we need to adapt. We need to evolve, and we need to accept, and we need to allow. Neurodivergence is here to stay. It's part of humanity's evolution. It is the change that needs to happen to bring a better world for all of us. So it's important for us to create supportive systems around this. It's important for us all to start celebrating the diversity of the youth of today. We need to become more mindful. And I know mindfulness is a word that gets thrown around all the time, but when it comes to our youth, we all need to start looking at our children and saying, our children are not the same as us, and that's a good thing. I see on social media people are putting up posts all the time about, when I was a child we could play in the streets and the lights were, until the lights came on and we were safe and da-da-da-da-da-da. Yes, that is all true, but our children today are going to have different memories. They're going to have different lives, different experiences, and that's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic, because one day they're going to say those similar things to their grandchildren. And the way that they look at us when we say we played out in the streets all the day is the way that their grandchildren look at them. So we need to, as older generation, we need to allow the newer kids, the youth of today, to be who they truly are. Let's stop trying to stick them in our boxes. Let's stop trying to make them conform to our way of thinking and our way of life. Let's love them and accept them for who they are, knowing that they are the future of this world, the future of our planet, and they're going to do a lot of amazing and awesome things for our planet. So friends, I hope this very long video is going to help you just look at the youth of today in a slightly different way. Love them, embrace them, and accept them for who they are. Encourage them to be more free with their thoughts, with their feelings, with their emotions, with just the way that they are. Let's not stick them in a box and try and label them in an old antiquated system. Happy Youth Day, everybody. Take care of yourselves.